Hi everyone, welcome to the third video in this little series from World of Flowers by Johanna Basford. I am now going to come in a little closer. We are using Polychromos pencils today for this one. We did use Prismacolor on day one to do a sort of base, and now we're using our Polychromos for some details. Where we left it yesterday, we'd done these yellow flowers, but we hadn't done the leaves, so we're going to have a go at that now. I'm going to use a few colours actually. I'm just looking for my sharpener. Here it is. I've grabbed the permanent green olive to start with. We're going to start there. So here it is, permanent green olive. And I'm going to do the very edge of these leaves. I know it's quite a lot darker to what we did before, but there's not going to be loads of this. This is just the beginning. I'm just going to sort of scumble that out so it gets a lot lighter very quickly, like that. I hope everyone's good. It's a hot and sunny day again today. The children have both gone off to uni. The train was massively delayed and they were considering getting a bus because they thought it might never arrive, but I had a little look and wrote down the bus details for them and then sent them on their way, and they in the end they got the train just because it was easier and because the train station is cold. I don't know if you've ever waited for a train in the UK. Every single train station I've ever been to is freezing cold, and it's a really hot day, and so they don't like it warm. It's earth green yellowish. So I said to them, do bear in mind that the bus stops are in full sunshine. It's mid you're coming up to midday, or it's past now, but it was then. And I said, so it's going to be really hot waiting for a bus. And they were like, yeah, okay. And so they decided to go for the train. I said also, you know, if you find out the train's not going to turn up, there's time to get to the bus stop. Just at this time of day, there happened to be time for them both to go and get a bus. But fortunately, they got the train, they both got to uni. One of them was a few minutes late. Well, he was a few minutes late telling me he got there. He may have got there and settled first. I don't blame him if he did. The other one was early, but he has a shorter journey. Now I'm going to use the May green to do the ends of these. I'm going over what I've done and just bringing it up towards the tip. Yeah, so I've been doing a little bit, got the benches out in the garden again to paint. Did that, so just need one more coat on the seats and then I'll be done. The fabric samples arrived in the post just now for the seat cushions. There were 3 that we asked to look at, excuse me, and they all looked rather nice, I have to say, but I've chosen my favourite. But I shall have to see what everyone else says. I think me and husband are definitely going to have the final vote. You know, when the boys were little, we would let them make more of a decision, but now they're getting older, we think, this is cadmium yellow lemon, you never know, we think that they won't be living here for that much longer, and therefore it should be us that picks. Also, we're paying. But I will show them and see what they think. But we usually do let them have a little say, and of course they might not move out ever, or they might be a long time yet. You know, the way house prices are, you just don't know, do you? Right, we're going to move on to these orchids, as I called them. The centres look very pale. I am going to darken them up a little bit. I'm just trying to pick a colour. We don't have, I think I will go for the violet. It's a bit darker than what we used. I can't remember what we used, but I think we'll be okay. So I'm just going in here, really dark in the middle, and then just sort of fading it off. So on the very edge, hopefully, we've only got the very original colour. But do your best. I'm not doing it perfectly. There we go. and then the same over here. So then, now I think I did the outside in the same colour as the petals. Did I use the amethyst and orchid? I think we don't have similar colours. What I might do is use the light magenta for this, for the main part of the leaves. I think it might work. We'll see. If it doesn't, we'll switch to something else, but we'll see. So it's my first time with nobody in the house for about 2 weeks. It's oddly quiet, but it's fine. Well, I went out this morning so that I could enjoy the house on my own this afternoon, and I've got a few jobs I need to do as well as making these videos, or this video. So I needed to dust. I haven't dusted for a long time, but my son, one of my sons, finds the dust in the air makes him feel nasty. He said his throat feels nasty, and he, you know, he feels choked up, sort of thing. So I decided to dust. So I did that earlier, before lunch actually, just as they left. I also noticed that our new neighbour was moving in, so I just popped my head out the door and said, use the drive for your little van. They've got a little van, because it's a bit closer to our house than their house and their parking space. Basically next door, their flats, their parking spaces are a little bit further away. We have a driveway, so ours is right next, but their front door is really close to ours, so they did. So I think he was grateful for that, I assume. So he chose to use it. Anyway, middle purple pink. My neighbour is also not there, and therefore his driveway is free as well, so I've got plenty of room. I know this wasn't done in a pink, but I've decided that I'm just going to do this and put a bit of pink in here and then fade it. I know this doesn't look like an orchid, but I just thought it might look pretty. And so I did that, and while I was in the middle of dusting, I just happened to be by the window and noticed. I introduced myself, but the chappie I spoke to wasn't actually the new neighbour. He said, oh, it's not me. I said, oh, are you a friend? And he just sort of nodded. We haven't done that one. Let's do that one before I don't know. Would I remember if I go over here? Hopefully. So I did that. I had some lunch. I was going to ring my mum. Well, I did, but they were about to go out, so they're ringing me back. My mum and dad. My dad answered, actually. I always say my mum because she's the one that usually answers and chats to me. He's usually busy doing something or other. But anyway, they're going out for lunch, so they were about to leave, and my dad said he's got, this is the light magenta again to do this one. He's got a bridge class at 2, so they wanted to not be delayed going out so he could get back in time. So I expect my mum might ring me at 2. This is the violet again, just for these little centre ones. There we go. Now I've got some foliage, leaves and stems on the orchids, which we can play with now. I'm going to use the leaf green to start with, do a few darker areas. I'm going to fade that off a bit there, and this is the colour too, there. And then our stem, I think I'll just do a little bit at each end, and then we have this flower which needs a darker bit at the bottom, like that. And then I will use the grass green to extend those areas of colour a little bit and sort of fade them into the colour we used, like that. Yeah, my mum said my dad's getting very much into his bridge at the moment. Not only does he do 2 classes, I think, or meet groups. I don't know if they're classes. I think one's a class and one's a sort of group where they play, if that makes sense. I'm not sure. But one's online and one he goes in person. One he does a weekly, one he does fortnightly. This is the green gold. We are moving on to these. I'm just going to use a little bit in the centre. I'm going to make a little bit, a little mark at the bottom. give them a little bit of depth. Now the orange colour, we can use a darker orange. This one's quite pale, so I'm going to use the dark cadmium orange, give it a sharpen and work those petals a little bit. They're not particularly bright, so I want to make sure they're really dark near the centre. I'm breaking everything today. I put a new blade in the sharpener, so it's making everything really sharp and fine, but it's all good. And I had some lunch, finished a cryptic crossword. I cheated a bit. I looked up bits and pieces and got there in the end. Then I started the Sudoku, and then I decided I really ought to do something. So, so I came up to do this, which is nice. Nice and relaxing. And it was actually interesting. I was thinking to myself how, even though the train looked like it was running late and might be cancelled, I didn't get myself worried at all. I just very carefully had a look at the information we had, wrote down the bus times for my one son who is likely to forget. The other one isn't, so I didn't write them down for him. This is juniper green. Just talk them through their options, and I remained completely calm, which was lovely. Now these blue ones down here, they keep catching my eye because they don't look finished to me. So I am going to grab the light phthalo blue and do these sort of bits that I've left white with this, because to me they look a little bit, there's too much white paper and it just looks a little bit unfinished. That's better, but there's now not enough dark blue. What colour did I use? I'm just grabbing my cobalt blue greenish. I'm going to grab that again. It's not that dark. I'm going to grab something darker. I'm going to use the helioblue-reddish and just put a few more darker areas in, just to, because it's sort of made it all look a little bit too samey. So really want to emphasize that this bit here is a bit darker, and here that's better. You may not see a big difference on the camera depending on how big your screen is, but if you do it on your version, hopefully you will see a bit of a difference. I'm feeling like it's looking better. There we go. Now we have this one. This is our last one, isn't it? So I was going to do a real dark red, so I'm going to grab this dark red to start with, and to put in some darker bit here. I'm going to fade it off a little bit because I want to use another red towards the tip. I don't want it all really dark, although it's very striking. I think it's nice to have a couple of colours. I was reading a news article just now as well while I was messing about. I was like, I've started reading tabloid news articles. I need to go and do something productive. But it was interesting. I read one this morning as well, and there were comments on it, and the article was nasty about the person. Now, this person, I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to stir up your opinions on this particular person. Someone in the public eye, and that particular newspaper reporter said some really nasty things about them, and then in the comments every single person agreed with what they said. And this is the deep scarlet red. It made me feel really sad, in the sense that why do we do this? This person is not a criminal. What they do does not harm anybody else. It might harm their own family, potentially, maybe not. I mean, who knows whether what was being said was true. And I don't think they intend to, even if they do, you know. This is what comes of being a celebrity. You know, you don't know whether your reading is right or not, and whether things that family members have said to the press they really did say or not, or whether some sort of secret source who actually doesn't exist has been, you know, quoted, and this sort of thing. But anyway, and it's just like, firstly, it's not doing, this person is not doing me any harm, or I am assuming any of the people that commented, and it's really nobody's business. And the fact that the paper is reporting on this particular thing, this is the black, just seemed completely pointless and just purposely done to make people who already dislike this particular person annoyed and get them commenting, so that this newspaper could sell papers and get you know, get people commenting on the article. And it's just like this, you're just playing with somebody. Hopefully the person will not read the article, because it could be very hurtful. This background I'm going to do a little bit more work on. Having looked at it, I feel like I could improve it a little bit, so that's what I'm going to do basically. So I'm going to use a slightly darker colour right on the edge, the the Venetian red, and I'm going to just darken it a little bit. And it just felt to me like, is this news? Is this important for us to know? This person, and what it was an opinion piece. So it wasn't like they were reporting some facts. This person's done this or that or the other. It was, this person's done this, and this is why I think they've done it. And the reasonings were quite nasty. And I was like, this is just not nice. You're a woman. You're reporting, I say it was a woman, on what this woman was doing. Why are we women beating each other up, being nasty to each other? And it's just not necessary. You know, if we were talking about someone who was creating, who was doing harm, damage in some way, giving out false information that was hurting people, being fraudulent, or, you know, something like that, then yes, let's try and make people aware. But this person is not doing any of those things, and I was just quite appalled, as you can tell. And it didn't make me feel stressed or whatever, it just made me feel very sad. And firstly, I feel quite sad for the reporter, because they've got to say this nonsense to, this is the medium flesh which we used before, I think it's coral. You know, this is the way they make a living, by poking fun at people, or, you know, by being bitchy sorry, about somebody. It's not very nice, you know. And I think, would she say that to this person's face? Maybe. I don't think so though, I really don't. And so why why are we reading this? I read it, okay, I read it, but I shouldn't have done, and I need to stop, because you don't want to. But they'll see that I read it and they'll think, oh, that's popular, we'll write other things like that. And it's like, no, please don't. Please write nice things. Write about people who've done nice things, or write about nice things that people have done. Let's put it that way, because most people have done nice things, you know. So, and to me, what they were saying this person had done was just, as I say, an opinion on, oh, they're doing this for this reason. I'm like, how do you even know? It's just like, grrr. Excuse me. I'm going to use the beige red or light flesh just to come in a tad more. Yeah, so I was like, this isn't news, this is just rubbish, let's not read this. You know, it's just not good. But I did have a nice walk along the canal when I went out this morning. Tell you about that instead. there were lots of little midges flying over the water. Interesting, I bumped into a neighbour on my way out, and she said something to me about the pollution along the main road, and I said, don't you walk along the canal? And she said, no. She said, I don't like all the little flies. And I thought, yeah, I can understand that. It is quite icky. But today they were all just on the water, over the water. There wasn't any on the path where I was. They didn't, nothing came over towards me. I'm just getting a white pen. So it was all good. I don't usually mind them that much anyway. I'm just trying to pick the right size of pen. I think I'm going to go for a Jelly Roll 8. We'll see if this one works. I think I need to have a go through and see what... It's really hard to tell because it looks like there's loads of ink in it from here up. But I don't know whether there is really. Sometimes I hold them up to the light and then I can see better. Right, let's start here. Let's put some dots around here. Yeah, so it was quite pleasant, and I saw 2 goldfinches. I haven't seen any goldfinches this year yet, so that was a pleasure. They were flying off. Didn't see them very much, just a little glimpse, but they were, I could see they're sort of red. They've got a bit of red on their chest. I'll do this one the same when I move over here, or else I'm going to get pen on my hand. I'm going to put this over the black lines because anywhere else apart from around that centre bit it's not going to show up. So yes, I saw a pair of goldfinches. One was flying after the other. I guess it's springtime. So that was nice to see them. No ducks or anything on the water today. It's quite warm. Maybe they were hiding. I don't know. Put 3 little dots at the top of there. And yeah, that's about all I saw today. The blossoms are starting to go over a little bit, but the buttercups are out, and I love buttercups. They're all just starting to open. My neighbour opposite me mowed her grass, and she left the buttercups in it on my side of the fence. She's got a little bit of grass on the wrong side of her fence. I don't know why, it's just the way the houses were built. And she left the buttercups for me because she knows I love them. It's so kind of her. I will have to thank her. It looks so pretty. And so yeah, there were lots of buttercups just starting to open along that. It's a bit more shady along the canal. I don't think I want to do anything with these 2 purpley ones. I really like them, and I don't know about these. Let's do some dots up here and I'll have a think. You can do whatever you wish. Oh, I need to do this one. I want to put a little dot in each of these. What else flower-wise? So the cow parsley is starting to open. That's really pretty. Anemones don't have dots, but mine does. Artistic license. They say that, don't they? I can do what I want with my picture. That's what I say. It's mine. I'm going to do a little one on here, but none on the purple one. There we go. Now, I should have done this first, but I'm going to do it now and risk smudging everything. I'm going to grab my dark sepia and do a little bit of shadow work before I finish. Dark sepia, so where the plants and flowers overlap, like here, just put a little bit of shadow with the blunt pencil, which doesn't look very nice. Use a sharp one. There we go. So a little bit of shadow. You can do it in between the petals if you like, but I don't want to do that. I don't think it's going to work. Now here on the yellow, keep it as light as you can. Apparently I can't keep it very light, but never mind. And here. Now I'd already put a bit of a darker green along here. Yeah, I rushed into town. I didn't want to be too long. I had to be back I wanted to be back before the boys left, and so I saw someone, as I always do, to talk to, but I really need to go into a few shops and see if I can buy some trainers. See, I'm still got my big boots on, and last year my trainers fell apart, but I sort of want waterproof trainers, but all I can find that's waterproof, I haven't done these leaves, have I? Let's do those before we finish. I'm going to grab the chromium green opaque. This is quite dark, but I think it's going to work. Bear with me and I'll show you. Give it a sharpen. Okay, we're going to start with this little leaf at the top, and we're going to put, oops, a dark bit here and here, and then just fade it out towards the edge like that. Yes, so it's tricky to find like a trainer which is waterproof. I've been looking, they tend to be like heavy walking shoes rather than just a light trainer. But I don't, you know, I love the idea of having some what are they called, Converse, that's it, those sorts of pumps, but they always just rip my feet to shreds. Even if I have socks in them, my feet get blistered from the sort of canvasy shoes, and I just don't see why those would be any different. They're just more expensive, so I'm thinking maybe not those, but then what? What's that bit? Who knows, we'll just do that. Yeah, so I need to find some. I went into one shop that sells clothes and shoes, and they only had pumps, and they have the really thick soles again this year, which I can't cope with. It's too heavy. The point of having a summer shoe is that it's lightweight, surely, not heavy, unless I'm getting something waterproof. But this is like a canvas shoe with a thick heavy sole, and I'm like, what's the point of that? The other place in the shopping centre only does like Ugg boots. They're not really very summery, are they? I'm grabbing my dark sepia again just to finish a few shadows under here. Those are really quite dark. Put a little more in where these overlap. Oh, there's my phone. Right, I am back from an hour-long phone call and trying to wonder whether I think I had almost finished. I picked up my dark sepia again. I think I'm just going to do a few bits. I think my plan was just to do a final few tweaks, and then I was going to sign off, and then the phone rang. Yeah, my mum was well. She was having a bit of a moan about my dad, but hey ho. We always do about our husbands, don't we? Or wives, maybe. There we go. I think I'm going to leave it there. I think we're done. So I think I was pretty much done before. So there we go. There is the end of that one. I won't be doing the other two immediately. I will get them done. Leave a little gap. I don't know why. I just did that last time. I might decide to finish them up, but I've got a few other projects I want to get my teeth into. So you will find out soon what those are. But thank you for watching today. I hope that you have a super day and happy colouring.